Hey guys, this is Mr. H, Chapter 1, Lesson 2, Absolute Value. So absolute value, very important for you to know this because absolute value is just talking about the absolute value of a number. And the absolute value of any number is the distance from 0 on a number line. And this distance is measured in units. All right. Okay, so the definition of absolute value. A number's absolute value is its distance from 0 on a number line. Okay? And this distance is measured in units. Don't forget that. Right, these little brackets that I'm drawing with the 3 inside of it, those are pretty much the symbols that you should recognize for absolute value. So if you see those little brackets around the number, immediately you should think absolute value. So it's asking you, what's the absolute value of a positive 3? Well, since it's measured in units, you're just going to tell me that absolute value of that 3 is just 3 because it's 3 units away from 0. Same thing with the negative 3. The absolute value of a negative 3 is just 3 because that 3 represents 3 units away from 0. Major key, guys, absolute value is always positive, okay? Because it's being measured in units. It'll make sense in a little bit when I draw this number line. So you'll be able to see why absolute value is positive, because we're talking about distance in units between numbers from 0. Don't forget, positive numbers go to the right of the 0, negative numbers go to the left. Right? So the absolute value of a positive 3, I'm putting a dot on the 3, and I'm drawing the little arrows moving towards the 0 to show you that the absolute value of a positive 3 is 3 units away from 0, so the answer to that would be 3. Same thing with the negative 3. The absolute value of a negative 3 is 3. Okay? Because if I were to ask you, what's the absolute value of a negative 3, it wouldn't make sense to say it's negative 3 units away. That would be the absence of 3 units. You would just say it's 3 units away from 0. Right? That's why absolute value is always positive. And the reason why it's positive, because distance in units is never negative, is positive. Hopefully this is making sense. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's absolute value, okay? Now we got to put our knowledge to work. Let's do some examples. Example A is asking, what is the absolute value of a negative 5? Okay. Remember that absolute value is positive because it's being measured in units. It's the distance of a number from 0. Okay. Notice I'm drawing a number line, and I didn't put 0 in the middle this time. It doesn't always have to go in the middle. All right, put a dot on the negative 5, and I'm showing you how many units it's away from 0, and it's 5 units. So the absolute value of a negative 5 equals 5. Example B is the absolute value of 20 plus the absolute value of a negative 3. The way to solve these, guys, is rewrite the equation without absolute value. So you would rewrite it as 20 plus 3 equals 23. Let's go do another example. Example C. the absolute value of negative 16 plus the absolute value of a positive 2 equals, remember to rewrite it without the absolute value brackets. All right, so the absolute value of a negative 16 is 16 plus the absolute value of a positive 2 is 2. 16 plus 2 equals 18. And then example D will be asking you to identify the opposite and the absolute value of 3. Now these are just some examples, guys. There's plenty of different ways you might see absolute value. That's why it's good to study your book, study your journal as much as you can. The opposite of 3 is a negative 3. You knew that. Super easy. The absolute value of 3 is 3. So easy, guys. Study, study, study. Absolute value is easy. Success. See you next time.